Welcome back to Millicraft and welcome back to the Gray Box, everyone. We are going to be doing trees. Yes, that's right. We're going to do some basics in tree building. So let's get started. On the topic of trees, we have a whole bunch of different varieties that are naturally spawning in the world, but sometimes they just don't look quite like we want them to. For instance, a regular old oak tree. Oh, of course, I'm gonna spawn a big one. Let's spawn a smaller tree here. But we're gonna take a look at these as your base is okay. Go close. So as you come into a world, you're gonna find a whole bunch of different naturally spawning tree types that I just kind of want you to kind of look at and look at the shape and look at how they grow. And goodness gracious, I couldn't have planned this out any better. So our basic, very small tree, you're going to have a leaf structure of some sort around a log structure, so the actual trunk of the tree. And if you notice, like with the base tree structure, like little tiny tree here, you've got the trunk, you've got two leaves, like two deep leaves all the way around, and then it comes up and just kind of covers the top. So very easy to replicate. Same basic structure for the larger tree, but as you notice, as it gets higher, like these corner guys are gone, so you might see it like that. And then as you get bigger, obviously you're going to start to see different like stems and trunks and branches coming off the tree. Very basic structures. That's what we're going to try to replicate today in today's video. So if we start off with just a simple kind of thing, now you can do like regular oak, you can do spruce. A lot of people really like to use spruce with the oak outer layer. The actual trunk of an oak, if you notice, is very close to the spruce color versus if you did one of these oak fences. It's lighter in color. You can still use these. I've used all sorts of oak and stripped oak to make tree trunks. You can use colors of all sorts of varieties, grays, browns, whites, all sorts of colors. So don't be afraid of playing around with your trees. Let's start with a very basic. We're going to go like the smallest kind of tree that you can do. It even looks more like a bush. So I have seen people do trees as simple as this with a little fence and just some different kinds of leaves on top of it. And honestly, if we did this and then we take it and we build it up just a little bit more, we double it up and thicken it up, you have a really good tiny little tree. So this would be kind of like a decorative tree around your base. Doesn't take up much room, as you notice. It takes up about a 9 square. So 1, 2, 3 across in both directions. And it doesn't take a whole lot of wood, doesn't take a whole lot of leaves. You can take one of these trees down and probably make a couple of these guys. Now let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's go a little bit taller. I'm going to come out and we're going to do this wooden structure all the way up. So let's say we're going to do the stems all the way up, and then we're going to go all the way down with it. And I've seen some of these also as just very simple decorative trees around people's bases. It gives a completely different look. You can make them really tall. I've seen them very tall. I've also seen like some of the stems come out, so it's a little bit more green around the bottom like that. Very simple. So as you saw, I just put a fence post up there. I surrounded it with leaves on all sides, put one on the top. You can make it a little taller by doing that. You can make it very tall. You can make it very short, as you've seen. Very simple. You don't have to do very fancy to make these trees. What if you do want to go a little fancier? Let's switch up what kind of trunk that we're using with the same basic structure. So now we're going to try the same exact thing with slightly different leaf types, and I'm going to just make these exactly the way I did before, just so that you can see them. I think I might maybe made it a little taller. We'll see. Even switch this out just like that. And look at how different these two are. This is using birch leaves and pale oak fences to do exactly the same thing, just surrounding it. We're gonna switch it out a little bit more. I'm gonna actually take out the fences and switch it for diorite. And look, now we have a birch tree. And it's a very slim, very cute little birch tree. I could probably take these off. Let's switch this up instead. And look at what that looks like. It's really cute. And even that out there. Very simple, very airy. Now you can do the same thing again by switching up other leaves and kind of doing a whole other thing. So let's take our original design here with just the fences. Then I'm going to fill it with these birch leaves. Just because I like these birch leaves. The birch leaves are really nice. There are different kinds of leaves in the world that do not change color depending on where you put them. But many leaves do. So as you notice, these oak trees have very vivid green leaves. So if we come into our area here with our creative menu, oak leaves will change colors. Spruce and birch will not. Jungle will change colors, acacia will change colors, dark oak will change colors, mangrove will, and then these three types will not change colors either. So you have these two and these four: cherry, pale oak, azalea, and flowering azalea. And I'm actually going to take some acacia because it has a very light and airy look to it. But if you notice, look how vividly green this acacia is in comparison to the birch leaves. So I'm going to change these up a little bit just so you can see how much of a difference these two trees are if you vary the leaf types. So you can see the acacia gives you just a little pop of green here and there. So you could have like a whole row of the exact same tree in the same area, and they're all going to look a little different just by mixing and matching leaf types and your oak fences and or diorite walls or something along those lines. So I'm gonna kind of put those in there too because I think I like this look better when it's a thicker stem. Now obviously you can use all sorts of wall types as your stems just as well as you can with fences, depending on how thick you want to go. And as we go thicker, we're going to get to full logs. But one I have seen used a whole heck of a lot online is the tough wall. And we can use the tough wall, and as soon as we get, like right now, we don't have the gray. So once we get the poplar, we'll be able to use the poplar alongside of these. But I really like the look of these, and I'm going to use spruce leaves now on this one. And I'm going to just kind of go around just like we've been doing. And what I'm going to do is as I come down to the next few layers, next layers in, what we can do is we can kind of add in every other layer, so some extra added depth. Then on the final one, down here, and put that. So it's literally just surrounding it and then adding a little bit of a layer to a little bit of a layer to a little bit of a layer, and boof, pine tree. Now look how close. All of those were built exactly the same way, just adding just a little bit more leaf structure, changing up the stems just a little bit until you have a row of trees that are very similar to one another but look very, very different. Now that you have a little bit of the basics, let's go to a bigger, more grand, more improv kind of trees. I built a similar kind of tree like this in one of my single player worlds. So let's take a look at this particular. So we're going to take a look at the big oak tree design. It's got a center trunk on it that is pretty tall. Now what we can do to make it look a little more grand is we can kind of add other layers to this trunk. Now we can always put like more layers of the trunk, and as you notice, I'm mixing and matching here. I'm using the spruce with the oak log here. You could use the stripped spruce in this case instead, it has a very similar color to it, but it's up to you whether or not that's something that you like, that kind of look, or you want a little bit more texture. Really up to you as you start to build what your favorite look is when it comes to these kinds of things. So I'm going to build a little bit of a kind of a trunk going here. We're going to build it out just a little bit deeper. I'm going to even go into the ground a little bit. Use some of our different blocks, such as these shelves, to get it a little bit more depth to it as you kind of build out from the tree. So you can continue to do, you could make a 9-block tree, you could make a really huge tree. I'm just kind of making it a little thicker along these edges just to kind of make it work. Now what we can do is you can use some of your other blocks, such as fences, gates, shelves, trapdoors, spruce stairs, I mean whatever kind of stair that you want. And mix and match. You can use walls. So if you're using like a white palette, you could use all the pale oak palette. You can mix in some diorite walls. Same thing if you're doing a gray palette. Once we get into the poplar, you can do like the tuff. You can add in a whole bunch of the gray acacia woods. You can add in stone. Don't be afraid of doing non-wood things. I'm just doing wood things because I like them. So as you can see from the oak tree, the natural growing one, you're going to start to see branches. So the branches come out perpendicular, so they come out from the tree. So now that we have our main branch here, we can actually start to build in different branches depending on how big you want this tree to be. You can kind of stair step it, so you can kind of put one in there, stair step it up, and just sort of do it like this, where it's kind of like starting to come kind of perpendicular. You can kind of build it however you like however the shape of the tree is that you want to design. We're going to do a couple different ones where it's kind of coming off to the edge here. We can start to add that as your base shape. Now, obviously, if you're doing this in survival, you're going to have to play around with it. You're going to need scaffolding. You're going to need to use your elytra. You're going to climb up and down. You're going to look at it from a distance a few different times. You're going to keep playing around with it until you're happy with the tree design of however the shape is going to be. Now, in this stage, you can also add, if you want to make some of these branches look a little thicker, you want to give them a little bit more depth, you can start to build in some of these other parts of your wood just to see what feels right. It doesn't have to look grand. It can just look however you want it to look, honestly. So you can make like little pallets that go off that way. If you want skinnier branches to come off of some of your thicker branches, you might put them in such a way that you've made some big spindly looking branches. You might want to fill in some space to make it look like it actually connects in places. A lot of this is kind of up to you and your preferences, and I'm gonna say no tree is ever the same in real life and in the game. So don't feel bad if you think, oh, that looks kind of weird. I'm not sure I like that. Well, keep playing around with it until it is something that you like. And don't worry too much if it looks a little weird at first. Obviously, I'm going to build some kind of weird structures here just because we're going to be playing around with this. I'm also going to be using some gates and things, just so that we have some additional kinds of tree structure here. I'm going to thicken that up a little bit. I know some builders will use a lot of different things. Like I've seen some recent ones by some of the better built, like the more popular builders online, just kind of using all of their blocks to the advantage, because it doesn't matter what it looks like up close as much as it's going to look when you fill this out with leaves. And in the bigger the tree, the more leaves you're probably going to need, unless you're building a tree that looks half dead, which honestly we could leave like a couple of these branches kind of half dead if we wanted. But let's take a look, and I'm gonna just use regular oak trees. Now remember, if you're like building on top of fence gates and stuff, you might need to kind of like squat or be on top of it. And then you just start to add your leaf structure up and around it. It doesn't have to be beautiful, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can leave gaps. Definitely leave gaps if you want to, because in real life you're going to see some of the branches too. So don't be afraid of leaving some of the branches from time to time. And just kind of working your way around. Like I said, leaving some of those gaps. Just kind of putting the leaves around. I'm just going to do one branch to start here. And if you notice, I also have different types of leaves in my hand here, so you can also mix up the textures a little bit by adding in some other leafy types like acacia. Like if you're using a color changing leaf type depending on the biome you're in, you might want to just kind of play around with those sorts of leaf types while you're going. And there's our first branch. And you see I've left a few different little bits and pieces here, but I've filled in some of the rest. To the point that you can kind of get the idea. I'm going to leave some of this branch empty and kind of dead. So it's going to look like this is a much older tree as I go. Let me show you what it looks like when it's all said and done. So now that I have laid in all the leaves, I noticed it was looking kind of flat on top. So I ended up coming back in and adding a few more branches that kind of come up higher. I could have added some more branches in the middle, so in this case, like, we could definitely add maybe another branch coming out this direction. And I can lay in a few more leafy things here and there, switching it up by using some of the different leaf types, and I could maybe leave it open in a few places. And there it fills out the tree just a little bit more, and like I said, I left one branch dead. We could even switch this up a little bit just for fun, and like let's say it got hit by lightning. There we go. And we're even gonna switch this up so it definitely looks like it got there. So that branch got hit by lightning and now it is dead, but the rest of the tree seems to be thriving and doing really well. I think this kind of tree type just looks very natural, looks very full and happy, and just has a lot of character to it. So now that you've seen some of the basics of tree building, let's get into some advanced shapes of tree building. Now, I had some fun playing around with some other tree types and of course our oak tree. So I have another like big oak tree type or maple or whatever. But I added some green panes of glass to fill out some of the colors and areas. You can kind of see those touches of green here and there. I have seen this done with the various different shades of green depending on where in the world you are. I've seen this used in pink cherry trees, white trees, in the pale oak trees where they have the gray leaves, etc. And we can build one of those too. But let's take a look at just a couple of other kind of cutesy varieties. Now, I wanted a cute, flowery kind of birchy tree. So I used the diorite walls all the way up and then actually built a structure with them. So if we take this, and I'm going to do this with a couple different types of leaf structures here, but we start with these, and then we just build a very simple tree structure here. A little bit deeper on the bottom, etc. And you could even, you know, continue it up with some of the white oak, the pale oak, just to make it a little taller and a little thinner. And then you can just add leaves around it. So just using these little leafy things here and there, putting in a couple extra ones from time to time, filling in the structure. as you go, and you can get kind of a cutesy looking little like birch tree with kind of a different shape to it. Very simple, very easy. Lots of things that you can change up. Other things that you can do with these, you can kind of switch them up and switch out with maybe the gates instead, thin out the branches, use different shapes and colors, and it gives you a very unique looking tree that you can kind of replicate over and over in your area if you want very well manicured looking trees. Another fun one, of course, is palm trees. That's something we don't have at all in Minecraft yet, at least as of this moment. And palm trees, I saw this. Blazer for Hire, one of my friends, came up with this cool banana design, or at least he found this banana design online, so I'm going to credit him. But it's strip bamboo for ripe bananas, and they're a little bit larger, and then the smaller unripe bananas are the green bamboo, or you can do coconut palm trees with the cocoa beans, which I think is perfect because in this case I'm using jungle leaves and I'm using jungle logs, and they're all vertical. You could also make these a lot bigger by, putting more of the stumps together. You could also come back in here and like give it some greenery around the base or something along those lines to give it a little bit more of a jungly look. But the palm tree design I think is a really cool, easy design to do, and you can make these like curve a lot or just a little bit, or they could be really straight up and down and very tall. I've been seeing a lot of these pine tree things in both probably B-Dub's worlds, in Scar's worlds. A lot of famous YouTubers are using this kind of look where they use the tuff in areas, they use these mud bricks in areas for the browns as it kind of goes up and gets lighter and less gray. I'm sure once we get the poplar design, there'll be more of those. But this particular tree was built with walls and stumps, and then there was a few small spruce fences in there, and the rest of it was just built up of the pine needles. And you can kind of see I did it at varying levels and didn't connect the levels together, and that gives you more of that pine, like more rustic pine look. Now the last tree that we'll do, we're going to put over here just for the thumbnail because I think it's going to be fun. We're going to build a dead tree, and we're going to use this very cool mangrove just because the mangrove roots look really good. I built a similar one to this not too long ago in one of my friend's worlds, but let's do this mangrove, and then we're going to add in some spruce fences, shelves, and fence gates, because as you notice, the color of the mangrove looks really good with spruce again. Why do they always make everything look beautiful with spruce? I don't know, but it is pretty amazing. So we're going to come in and add in some more of these mangroves. Now, mind you, anything I'm going to be using the mangrove with, I need to probably cover up the red or make it so you can't see the red very well. So I'm just going to kind of come in, get rid of all of that, and then make sure that I have some fancier little bits and pieces and bits and bobs. And we're just going to make, I'm probably just going to do 2 main branches on this one. And we're going to, again, cover up the bits we don't want to see. And actually, some of these upper ones, we can actually use some shells just for the heck of it, just to get rid of that red. Because we're going to be brown and gray is all we're going to be able to see on this particular one. And we'll do one more branch out this direction. So then as we kind of go along, we're like, okay, some of this looks like it could be a little deeper, a little bit shallower here and there. Just continue to build it however it looks. Now we're going to take and put on some of these mangrove roots in areas as well as the pale oak leaves. So we're making a spooky tree. Kind of a dead looking one too, and you can actually add some of this kind of stuff in here too, just to kind of give it a little bit more depth. Wherever you use the mangrove, it's just going to be a little pop of the brown color here and there. So don't be afraid of just kind of throwing it in places, but also don't use a whole lot of it either. And then when you get the basic shape laid in, you can also add in a few, like dead coral here and there. And some of these spots. You can kind of give it a little bit more of a creepy vibe. Mind you, we are putting it only on the mangrove roots, which is why we added these in the first place, and you can only put them on the tops and sides. But it's kind of a fun little extra added thing. And then we can even add in some of these guys, some of these pale hanging moss that fill out the areas to give it even more depth of field and give it just that much cooler of a vibe. I'm going to put some of those down because we're working with gray, so you can do this on Bedrock as well as Java. If you want to go a little fancier too, you can add some of the pale moss. Give it a little bit of that like cool moss effect growing up and around it. Like that. Now you have a spooky tree, a very similar kind of shape to that one. If you wanted it more round, you just need to start adding in a little bit more structure to the middle. You'd want to bring up the middle a little higher and then start adding in stuff up and around that as well to kind of give it a little bit more structure. So don't be afraid to keep playing with your tree types, because you never know what it's gonna look like when it's all said and done. Ta-da! Very cute. I would love to see this in some kind of like desolate landscape and or like a Halloween village. And I could see something like this being eventually used in the autumn biomes with the reds and the oranges and the yellow poplar leaves as well. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did kind of creating it and putting these trees together. If there's any other kinds of videos you would like to see in the Gray Box series, please drop a comment below, subscribe, like the video if you like this or you were able to use any of these ideas in your own world. There's a Discord link and the link tree below from the Craftworks Discord where I hang out the most. And, you know, try it out for yourself. Let me know if there's any other kinds of trees that you have developed in your world, or if, you know, you've never made trees before and this is your first time building a tree, good luck. You can do it. You can go very, very simple, or you can go very, very crazy. You could build on these to make really big trees. They don't have to be as simple as these. These were just kind of, they're time consuming because you have to collect all the materials in survival, but in craft, you know, creative, it's not too bad. Anyway, love y'all very, very much. Give yourselves a hug for me. Thank you for stopping in on another of my Gray Box tutorials, and I will see you soon. Bye, everyone!